Acts chapter 5, still, well, it's Luke's record of a unique, miraculous season, what I would call the front gate for the church. These original first generation Christians were experiencing in Jerusalem. Just talked about the narrative of Ananias and Sapphira. I don't know. What do you do with that? I think when I come across things in scriptures I'm not quite sure what to do with, I try to run it back to what's the simplest thing that I can get from this. Often that's the most important thing. And sometimes when I am looking for more than that, I throw in all kinds of complications that don't matter, don't really apply. But that's just me. When I think back to, all right, what's the simplest lesson from Ananias and Sapphira? Well, it comes down to, we have to run it back to Barnabas and then Ananias and Sapphira. So the first lesson is, generosity is right. It is good. It's godly. Then with Ananias and Sapphira, the lesson is, don't try to lie to God because you're not going to win. And God takes lying very seriously. We don't, but he does. In verse 13, as a result of these things, and don't forget, well, I know you didn't forget because it was yesterday, last time we talked about the fact Luke includes that the apostles did many signs and wonders to the degree that people tried to get under the apostle Peter's shadow in order to be healed. Well, okay. They used to meet in Solomon's colonnade. A lot of them. I mean, the last number we had was 5,000. Verse 13. No one else dared join them, even though they were highly regarded by the people. It's a little scary. Some pretty uncommon, unordinary, even frightening things had happened among these Christians, although they weren't even called Christians yet. So what would you call them? Followers of Jesus. Verse 14, nevertheless, more and more men and women believed in the Lord and were added to their numbers. Okay. In spite of the frightening things, in spite of these pretty difficult to explain things, people were still coming to the Lord. And they believed in the Lord. Okay. Verse 15. As a result, talked about this, people brought the sick into the streets and laid them on beds and mats so that at least Peter's shadow might fall on some of them as he passed by. Crowds gathered also from the towns around Jerusalem, bringing their sick and those tormented by impure spirits, and all of them were healed. That to me is a very powerful statement, and easy for me to, pretty much breeze right by. All of them were healed. I can't imagine. I mean, I can only, and my imagination isn't even big enough to capture the fact that every single person who sought out the apostles or were brought to the apostles for healing were healed. All of them. It's not like a lot of them or most of them. All of them. Wow. So you have this, I don't know, I guess I would call it a tension that people in this time in Jerusalem must have been feeling toward the people who had put their trust and faith, belief in the Lord. On the one hand, some scary things, okay? On the other hand, everybody who was brought to the apostles for healing was healed. These miraculous signs and wonders, they weren't just like, well, that's, every once in a while something really crazy and good happens. There are people who think this is just an exaggeration, it's just hyperbole from Luke. That it doesn't mean all, it means a lot. I guess you could think that. I don't know why you why would you? I am not going to disbelieve Luke. I'm just going to take it on its face value. Okay. Now I have to run it back to, so what does that mean for us today? I've shared this before, but I'll tell you, one of the things I think it means for us today is we're not apostles. Does God still heal people? Absolutely. I totally believe in the fact that he is still at work to heal people. He still does miraculous things. Now, I'm going to go out on a ledge. Yes, he heals people still today. Sometimes he does it through medicine. Sometimes he does it through therapies of various kinds. But he heals them. I also believe he miraculously heals people. He's not done. He hasn't said, well, I'm not, that was then and this is now. Believing that, though, I must tell you, we are not the apostles. I don't think, well, let me just put it this way. I have never known personally anyone who has been given by God the miraculous power that he gave the apostles as best we can understand, about 33 AD in the city of Jerusalem and its surrounding area. I don't know what to say. Oh, so I'm going to go on. Okay. Verse 17. When the high priest and all his associates who were members of the party of the Sadducees, the high priest and all his associates who were members of the party of the Sadducees were filled with jealousy. Really? Remember about there's two things here. Members of the party of the Sadducees. So the ruling Jews, the high priest and his associates, this was not just a group who had specific religious beliefs. They were a political party. In first century Israel, you couldn't separate politics from religion, nor religion from politics. There was no wall of separation, which, by the way, that idea comes from one letter written in the early 1800s or late 1700s by one man to one man. But Can you tell I have pretty strong feelings about that whole idea? Here's the thing. The high priest and his associates were drawing from the context here, were Sadducees. They were of the party of the Sadducees. Now, religiously, the Sadducees disbelieved the miraculous. They did not believe in angels or miracles. This would have been a very difficult time for them because miracles were happening like crazy all around the apostles. Miracles that they couldn't deny. There were too many people who had seen them, too many people who had experienced them, that they were undeniable. Now, they were filled with jealousy. About what? Well, it's easy for me to see, I think it'd be easy for you to see as well, that the Sadducees, they were struggling mightily to deny that these things had happened. And it was clear this movement was gaining traction like crazy. People in the thousands were being converted over and away from not just their belief system, but their control. Boy, isn't that a dynamic that has never died? Isn't that a dynamic that no matter how small or large a group of people becomes, this still plays? I know of tiny little churches where it's still about power. Somebody in that church wants the power over 15 or 16 other people. It's true in huge churches. It's true in government. It's true in organizations. It's true in businesses. Well, it was true of the high priest and his associates. They were filled with jealousy. And when jealousy fills people, they will react. They don't respond. They react. See, jealousy is an emotion that moves us to reaction rather than response. And the big difference between responding and reacting, as you know, is thought, rationality. Verse 18, they arrested the apostles and put them in the public jail. Now, I don't think that means the Roman jail. I think that means the Jewish jail. Remember, Jewish political life, Jewish civil life revolved around the temple. For a Jew, the temple was the center of the universe. And in Jerusalem, life, daily life, was always connected to that physical location, the place, the thing, the temple. Okay, they arrested the apostles. How did they have that kind of authority? Well, don't remember, the fact is, the high priest and his associates, what is called the Sanhedrin, the 70, these are the most powerful. They were, don't mistake Judaism and Jewish life for democratic society, because it was not. These men, no women, just men, were selected. And usually they were selected by those currently in power to, well, anyway, they had the power. They had the authority to arrest the apostles, and they did. And they put them in the public jail. Next time, the story begins to unfold, and it is way good. We'll start there next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.